So welcome everybody. I'm so happy to be here today. Laura Christine Sines, CEO and founder of Live Vegan Vibrantly and your host for the Power of Plants event. I am so excited to be introducing Erin Sheriff. She has a very special treat for us today. She's going to be talking about caring for the heart of a vegan, cultivating peace in a violent world. And she has such incredible content for us to go over with her today. She's going to go through a couple of exercises with us, and it's going to be relating to also what is currently going on in the world in a very uplifting, very informative and educational way. So without further ado, everyone, please welcome Erin. Erin, go ahead and take it away.
Laura, thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor, and thanks to anyone who's here with us live or who is watching this recording. I know your attention is one of the most precious things that you have, and so if you're spending your time here with us, my intention is for this to be of value and to offer you something empowering to bring back with you into your life and into the world. And I like to start with a poem. It's a really good way to ground and connect to ourselves, to each other, to our hearts. And so, as Laura said, the world has been a little bit crazy right now. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let's give ourselves the gift of taking 2 or 3 slow, deep breaths to just be here where we are now in our bodies in this moment. And at the end of your next out breath, maybe pull your belly button in towards your spine a little bit. Really get rid of any stale air and allow a nice big inhale to flow into you. Feel your vitality and your aliveness in this moment in time, which is the only one that's ever real. And if your eyes are closed, I invite you to keep them closed as I offer you up this poem by Mary Oliver. It's called The Invitation. She says, "Oh, do you have time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day? For the goldfinches that have gathered in a field of thistles for a musical battle to see who can sing the highest note or the lowest, or the most expressive of mirth, or the most tender. Their strong, blunt beaks drink the air as they strive melodiously, not for your sake and not for mine, and not for the sake of winning, but for sheer delight and gratitude. Believe us, they say, it is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in the broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life." So it could mean something. It could mean everything. This day, this morning, this moment. So have one more breath that grounds you in gratitude for your precious being. And I invite you to gently open your eyes as you feel ready, or you don't have to if you'd like to stay there. And I'm going to say a few more words now. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about me and my journey and maybe my perspective on things and why I'm here today so passionate about these topics. And I'm sort of a reluctant, well, not anymore, but I was a reluctant vegan at one point. I was a standard American girl living the standard American life. And the word vegan to me at one point in time, it's not something I ever aspired to be. It sounded radical. This was, decades ago, but it sounded radical. It sounded a little crazy. It's not something I ever wanted to be, but I came to it through a series of small awakenings such that eventually the truth of it could no longer be denied. And so my very first love was movement. I was a professional figure skater for a while, traveled all over the world. And then I came back, I wanted to use my brain. And so I got a degree in biology. I knew I wanted to study life and what made people come alive. I didn't know what I would do with that information necessarily. I taught high school biology for a year. And then I went back and got a graduate degree and practiced as a primary care PA for 10 years. And it was during that time that I really started to question things in a new and different way. And I was naive in a lot of ways. I had never done yoga or meditated. This was back in the 90s, so this was before it was so common. And I had never been really ill, thankfully. And so I was sort of confused. I didn't understand that what I had signed up for and what I had gone into a lot of debt to get into was not a healthcare system. It was disease management, as we all know very well today. But I have a curious mind, and I was sort of not okay accepting that as the status quo, that most of my patients on the average day were not getting any better, and they were just going on more and more meds, and they weren't able to change their behaviors. And so I thought, what the heck are we missing? And started on an exploration and created a master's degree for myself in integrative health, because I just really wanted to immerse myself in this world of wellness, and literally stumbled on the mind-body connection, which now it's so obvious, but back then it wasn't such a common thing. And I thought, wow, this is really something that what we think, how we show up in the world can impact our health, can help us change behavior in all these ways. And so I just started going, taking one step, the next step, the next step. The next thing I knew, I was teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction, teaching other mindfulness-based interventions to people, mindful self-compassion. I was helping medical centers set up integrative health programs for patients. At some point transitioned into a professor of health sciences, thinking I would help influence the next generation of healthcare providers. But the one piece that was really, I wasn't seeing people embrace was the food piece, and that we literally are what we eat. And there was a gigantic blind spot around all of that. And so now I'm doing my best to bring all of these things out into the conversation. I do some corporate wellness stuff. I work with people one-on-one, because it's so interconnected now, right? You can't separate out planetary health from individual health, from animal health. It's all super interconnected. And I want to talk more about that in a second. And another important piece of my journey is my shamanic practice, and bringing a reverence and a sacredness back into the process. It can't just be a cognitive, intellectual exercise, because we don't stand up for that which we do not love deeply. And so I really firmly believe that we also need to bring a reverence back into the whole thing. And so that's sort of my my story in a nutshell. And I want to read you it's called the upstream downstream fable. This is something that I came across in teaching MBSR years ago. And you know how sometimes you hear something, somebody reads you something, or you see it in a book, and it just shifts your worldview in a profound way. This was one of those things for me. And I want to share it with you because it's an important segue into the coronavirus and everything that's happening on our planet right now. So it goes like this. It was many years ago that the villagers of downstream recall spotting the first body in the river. Some old timers remember how Spartan the facilities were and the procedures for managing that sort of thing. Sometimes, they say, it took hours to pull 10 people from the river, and even then, only a few would survive. Though the number of victims in the river has increased greatly in recent years, the good folks of downstream have responded admirably to the challenge. Their rescue system is clearly second to none. Most people discovered in the swirling waters are reached within 20 minutes, many in less than 10. Only a small number drown each day before help arrives. This is a big improvement from the way it used to be. Talk to the people of downstream, and they'll speak with pride about the new hospital by the edge of the waters, the flotilla of rescue boats ready for service at a moment's notice, the comprehensive plans for coordinating all the manpower and woman power involved, and the large numbers of highly trained and dedicated swimmers always ready to risk their lives to save victims from the raging currents. Sure, it costs a lot, say the downstreamers, but what else can decent people do except to provide whatever is necessary when human lives are at stake? Oh, a few people in downstream have raised the question now and again, but most folks show little interest in what's happening upstream. It seems there's so much to do to help those in the river that nobody's got time to check on how all these bodies are getting in the river in the first place. That's just the way things are sometimes. And that is such a accurate commentary on the society that we've built, our healthcare, pretty much everything we're doing is so far downstream. And I scrapped my original plan for what I was going to do with you today, not completely, but I really want to address the elephant in the room and what's on everybody's minds and hearts right now, which is coronavirus and the pandemic. And we, collectively speaking, are taking such a downstream approach to this. We're pulling bodies from the river left and right, and we absolutely need to. But let's go upstream. And ever since I read that a decade ago, no matter what's going on in my own life or in the world, I try to go upstream as far as I can to get to the root of the thing, because that's going to be the most fundamental shift and change we can make, get to the root of it. So when we go all the way upstream from this pandemic, this coronavirus, what do we find as the source of it? Eating animals. So this is very much related to this summit and what you're offering here, Laura, and what we've all gathered here to get together to discuss. And it's not separate from exactly what's going on and what's killing and sickening a lot of people in the world. And people oftentimes don't make this connection, or they think, well, that's just in China. That has nothing to do with me having a hamburger or some bacon that I get in the grocery store, but that is not accurate. If you go upstream and you really look, so the CDC warns us that 3 out of 4 new and emerging infectious diseases in people come from animals. It kills millions and millions of people every year. It's not in the public eye for a lot of reasons. We had swine flu, which got rebranded as H1N1 because Big Ag doesn't want it called swine flu, but that's still killing people today. And it's from the confinement and killing of large numbers of pigs. The pandemic that's killed the most people on Earth was the 1918 flu pandemic from birds. And that's right around the time when confining animals in big numbers was starting to happen. So almost every single case of the flu would not exist if we were not corralling, commodifying animals for food. I think people either don't know that or they've forgotten that. It's an important thing for you to know. SARS, MERS, the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome was from camel, SARS was from birds. We've got Salmonella, E. coli, Campylobacter, HIV and Ebola from killing and eating monkeys. And so there are consequences, both biologically speaking and also morally speaking, for what we do to animals and to the natural world. And we are kind of reaping what we've sown in a way. And I say that not from a place of blame or darkness, but from a place of, hey, let's come together and start telling the truth and being very clear about where we are and how we've gotten here. And having this, what's going on right now, this could be the biggest opportunity we've ever had as a species. We've almost had a reset. The pause button has been pushed for us. They've shown that the skies over Italy, the pollution is clearing. People are driving less, they're flying less. The earth, in a way, this is the way for Mama Earth to be able to heal herself a little bit. And it's a way for us, humans, who are having the biggest impact on all of this, to go upstream and to be able to have honest, heartfelt, reverent conversations, reconciliation, truth and reconciliation about what we've been doing, what the impacts are, and how can we shift and change so that we don't have to build more hospitals and quarantine centers by the edges of the downstream river. If we can go upstream together and start making some changes, the world could be so much healthier and happier and easier. And we'd have all the money we would need to do all of the wonderful things that we want to do for our people, because we wouldn't be spending so much on diseases and solving problems. And so that's a lot of words. I want to see, before I keep going, if you have any questions, Laura, or if anything wasn't clear.
Yeah, no, thank you. I love everything that you're saying. I love that you've gone through each one of the diseases, the origin of the disease, like the date of the disease. And I loved how you commented on the interconnected health on the planetary system, the animal, all of the species, and including humanity. I'm really interested, if you don't mind, touching on the moral connection between all of this. And right before you answer that, I love how you pointed out that this is an opportunity for us to allow the pollution to clear and take a closer look and be more conscious in our health. How are we taking care of our bodies? You know, what is actually the healthy way and the moral connection to go through something like this? And I don't think you're putting darkness on anything. What you're doing is you're shining the light so beautifully. And this is such an important and couldn't come at a better time topic. So yeah, I'd love for you to talk about the moral connection and how people can really elevate us as a species as well.
Thanks, Laura. I love that question, and it was actually the next piece of what I was going to get into, so that is so perfect. And so if you know, many of you may know Gene Bauer. He started the Farm Sanctuary, and if you don't know him and his work, it's really profound for the animals and the planet. And he wrote a beautiful article. I suggest you Google it if you're interested in this topic. It's on thehill.com, and it's called Coronavirus and the Karmic Interconnectedness of Humans and Animals. And it's really speaks to this eloquently. And so from a shamanic perspective, which I love so much, we believe that everything is alive and everything has a spirit, not just people, the earth, the air, the water, all of the elements, certainly all of the animals, the ancestors, you know, everything is in the mix here. And so how we treat the other beings, all the other beings, is how we get treated. And that's true, I think, from an individual level and from a collective level for us as a species. And so we cannot, it's impossible for us to continue the way we've been going, commodifying, killing animals at gigantic quantities. The magnitude of the suffering that we as a species are inflicting on other species is unprecedented on the planet Earth in terms of the numbers of it, the regularity of it occurring on a daily basis. It's mechanized, it's technologically assisted, it's government supported, it's fed to our kids. It's the magnitude of it, if you really go all the way upstream and look at it, it is immense. It is immense. And so we cannot, there's no way we can continue on this path and have a happy, healthy life. It's impossible from an interconnected standpoint, which we all are. So many of us are living in this illusion of separation, that we're a separate being. I, me, mine. I have to protect myself and my family and my stuff. And that's, the Buddha talks about that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's something that we all fall into, but we also all have the opportunity to awaken and to do the work and put the time in to dispel that delusion, that illusion, and to feel the size of the thread that connects the cloth that's holding all of us. And any bit of violence that we're inflicting it reverberates back to us. It does. We could talk about that from the medical perspective, from the environmental perspective. It's not just a woo-woo thing. It's an actual physical thing, as I just mentioned, with all these infectious diseases. So we could, wait for the vaccine for the coronavirus. We can talk about the war on the coronavirus, but we would be so much better served if we all went upstream and looked at what we've been doing, how we got here, and started to make some fundamental shifts in our systems and our conversations, such that, we just can't keep going this way and expect to have a peaceful, healthy world. Who was it that said, if it's the definition of insanity, and thinking that you can just keep going and doing the same thing and getting a different result. So it's hurting us at a deep soul level as a species. We are traumatized, collectively speaking. We're inducing trauma. We are being traumatized. The land is traumatized. It's just, there's a lot of recognition now in the academic world about individuals with trauma and PTSD and how horrific that is and how it touches every aspect of someone's life when they've experienced trauma. But we, as a species, have collective trauma. The lands that we're living on because of being colonized have trauma. We're swimming in a stew of trauma, and we can get out of it by being that peace, by bringing that reverent, loving attitude to every single day through our meditation practice, through ceremony, journeying, whatever particular flavor you want to have. There's not one right way to do it. But as a vegan, to bring it back to this community and what we're doing, whether you know it or not, you are living the best way possible in reciprocity with all of life. Even if you're just doing it for your own health, it doesn't matter. It's doing the least amount of harm. And so I encourage everyone who's here, and maybe I'm preaching to the choir, but there may be some people here who are just exploring veganism. And so you can actually feel good about bringing your best self to the table, being that peace through the choices that you're making. It's not a small thing to show up in the world every day. You're swimming upstream because the culture is not there yet, unfortunately, and you are taking a stand for that which you know is right, even in the face of sometimes opposition from the culture. And so that is known and felt in my cosmology and my worldview. That's a gift to the ocean. That's a gift to the air. That is a gift to Mother Earth. It's a gift to the animals. It's a gift to your fellow humans, because you're not contributing to this industry that's creating these pandemics and creating species extinction and species loss and ocean dead zones and all the other things that we know about. So I encourage you to celebrate that, own that, feel into that. You're also keeping yourself healthy. You have the healthiest microbiome, so you're less likely to spread disease, getting back to coronavirus. So there are just so many benefits to this way of life. And I encourage everyone to reflect, own it, celebrate it, be it, share it with others to the extent that you're comfortable. And together, in my biggest, grandest dream and vision for all of this becomes the new normal. It just does. And then things aren't so hard and we're not so sick, and our earth can heal and our waters can heal. And but it starts inside the heart of a human. Any great revolution has started in the hearts of humans that come together to express desire for a new way, to demand a new way. It doesn't start from the top down. So what we're doing here is important, it's crucial, it's critical. I love that you're here. And I want to pause again here, Laura, and see if you have any questions or comments on anything that I've said so far.
Yeah, thank you. I love everything that you're saying, the moral reflection of how we treat the air, the water, the land, each other, and also the trauma and how we have this opportunity to heal. I know that this is a totally different side of veganism, but I think it's so important to discuss because it hasn't really been addressed. And I'm not sure about everybody else, but I know that you and I are on this, same kind of realm with the interconnectedness. Like even with Dr. Will Tuttle, I feel like you speak a lot too of what he teaches. And it's another layer. It's another layer of healing. It's another layer of health. And you also connecting it with the when you're healthy, you don't have other parasites and you don't have other microbiome in your gut or in your system that can actually maybe contribute to a new disease or virus that may be going around and it's feeding it. I love that you said to own it. Of course, like everybody can do this, and I love that you commended people that it's not a small feat of going out there and doing this daily, so that it's actually one of the best things that you could do to cause the least amount of harm. I have a question for you that I would love your perspective on, and that is why, like, to me, this makes sense. When I came into macrobiotics and whole food plant-based nutrition, I'm like, wow, this totally makes sense. Like, why isn't it being taught everywhere in schools? Why is this level so difficult to be received, or it's not? Like, I know that there's a lot of people talking about, there's this emergence of you and all of these people that are just coming up out of the woodwork to say, hey, this is how we can deal with this, like heal from it, thrive from it. Why is it so difficult for the conscious collective to really hear this message?
It's such a good question. It's such a big question, and it's a complicated answer, but I think the bottom line is that the culture doesn't make it easy for us to hear this. It's the default is the standard American diet and the summer barbecues. It's almost like our culture is predicated on this. Thanksgiving, we kill and we eat turkeys. Every, Easter, you eat the ham. Summer barbecues, the hamburgers, the hot dogs. It's Americana. We go get ice cream. It's just, it's almost like a threat to who we are at a very personal level. And it's not easy to get people to upend their whole worldview. It gets to the familial ties and rituals and family, and it's just not easy. So everyone has their own doorway in, whether it's their own health or the planet now. A lot of people are coming for that reason, but the culture doesn't support this yet, unfortunately, where there's some really archaic laws where you have to give the kids milk in schools, even though 65% of people are lactose intolerant. I mean, our government is literally working against us so far in this regard in terms of subsidizing these industries. And so it's not easy. It's not easy, but I think, as you say, Laura, there's a critical mass of us waking up to this. And I think in some sense, for some of us, this is sort of how it feels for me some days. It's like the earth coming through me and speaking and trying to create the healing through us by sharing. And you plant seeds and people are ready to hear it when they're ready to hear it. And I think it's okay to say this, but my parents are very much standard American diet people. And so this was just a topic that we couldn't talk about because they had their ways and I had my ways, and they felt that I was judging them, I think. And so we just let it go, and we loved each other, but we had very different lifestyles. And after years of this, they finally now, I can't even believe I'm saying this, they've both been plant-based for a year because my dad had a heart scare, and thankfully he's fine now and feeling better than he has in years. But people are ready when they're ready, and you can just be the example and be loving to the best of your ability and be compassionate and just show up as the force for that in the world and radiate it out and trust that the rest is going to take care of itself. We can just do the best we can do.
Yeah. I just have one last question for you. So what is your vision for the world?
Oh man. I'm so glad you asked that, because that's a practice I have in my meditation and my shamanic. It's a dreaming practice where we can't just fight against that which we don't want. We have to hold space in our imagination and our heart for that which we do want. And I see a world where, let's say everyone woke up today. It could happen. Let's just say it happens.
Yeah.
People choose to not eat animal products anymore. So the slaughterhouses are going to close down. The factory farms, they have to close down. The air, the carbon, the greenhouse gases start to go down. Other species can come back because we have more land to do other things. People start waking up in their hearts to the interconnectedness of everything. And we're on the right side of history now, and we look back on the way we were treating animals and the planet, and we're horrified, but we're not doing it anymore. And that's the important thing. Awakening can happen in any moment in time. And if it happened right now, it could all shift tomorrow. We don't need the next president necessarily, although it would help if we had really strong leadership from the top too. But if we had super strong leadership from the bottom up, we could do it on our own right now. And that's the world that I'm holding space for.
Love it. I love that you're speaking it into existence.
May it happen.
So beautiful. I can feel it. I can see it. And I love the dream meditation, or what did you call it? Visualization?
It's a dreaming it into being. So I encourage everyone who's listening to do that in your meditation practice. It's like you have a magic wand. There are no limits. Money is no object, and you get to just change everything right now. You see it, you feel it, and let it be big as you can. Like there are zero limits. Go there and go there regularly. And I'll meet you in that field.
Yes, I will be there waiting for you. Very cool. Okay, so what would you like to do next?
Oh, well, I think we're about at our time here. So I think maybe I will just finish with just a couple of breaths together. And I will, before that, encourage people, if you want to play around with more of this, I have a 5-week series of Caring for the Heart of a Vegan that I made for you with videos explaining some of these topics, guided meditations to really get these principles into your body and into your heart, including the dreaming practice and some other fun practices. And the first week of it is free for the Live Vegan Vibrantly community. So I think the link is in the comments. So if you want to come over and check that out, I would love to support you. You're one of my favorite people already if you're on this path. And if you want a free discovery session, I can hop on the phone with you. We're all, I think, for better or worse, going to have a lot of time at home. And so I can hop on a call with you, and let's just together support each other as best we can in this mass awakening that is happening. And I will just close this out with a few breaths here. So we'll drop back in, and I encourage you to close your eyes and just feel into your heart right now. And I can feel in my heart a lot of excitement and love and possibility. There's just a lot of energy moving. And just so you know, your heart, the energy of your heart, and this is a medical fact, is exponentially stronger than the energy coming from your head. So when you can get into your heart and into some of those wholesome emotions like love, compassion, hope, gratitude, and move through the world from that place, you're in a more empowered state already. So come out of the head, the fear, the worry. I'm not saying don't take wise action, but come into your heart right now and know that if you're alive and you have are blessed enough to be being breathed in and out right now by some force that's bigger than you, bigger than us, anything is possible. And so I just want to extend huge gratitude to you, Laura, for creating this community of lit up souls, and anyone who's taken your precious time to watch or listen to this. So much gratitude and love for you. And I'm cheering us all on. May all beings be safe and at peace and free from suffering. So be well, everybody. Thank you again.
Oh, Erin, this was so beautiful. I was like, why did you do the meditation? Really, so I know we posted the link. So I just want to say thank you so much. What a generous gift, and it's beautiful. I actually checked out the whole thing. So just thank you so much for this very generous gift, Erin, and of course, giving of your time and really making such a profound education class for us and elevating, I think, humanity to a whole new level. So I cannot thank you enough. We'll have to have you back on here for the meditation because I really wanted to experience that.
I would love it. I just wanted to be respectful of our time, but I would love to come back.
Yeah, I mean, you could have done it. I wouldn't have minded at all. So let's definitely get that scheduled. And yeah, I cannot thank you. This was incredible. And thank you everybody who commented. People were just saying thank you and hello. So if anybody has any additional questions or comments, please go ahead and post. And Erin, since we posted the link here, I just want the audience to know for the replay where they can come find you.
Oh yeah, thank you, Laura. So it's erinshariff.com /live vegan vibrantly. It's under my services tab. And so yeah, caring for the heart of a vegan, come check it out. May it be of service. And yeah, I'm not on the Facebook group right at this moment, but I'm going to check the comments afterwards, and I'm very happy to respond to any comments or questions.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And thank you again, Erin, so much. And we'll see you guys on the next live. Bye.
Bye.